from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Welcome to That's a Winner podcast. I am Ryan Jenkins, and with me tonight, Kyle Peach and Brandon Elliott. Thank you, boys, for joining me tonight. Let me turn your microphones on. Welcome to the show. Obviously, there's some new backgrounds going on. We'll talk a little bit more about Sheath in a moment. Underwear of Legends. We'll talk more about that in a moment, as they are a new big sponsor. But, boys, welcome to the show. Let's get into it straight away because I have some beefs with the Cardinals and what's happening right now. The offense is all of a sudden figuring it out, starting to hit a little bit. And then the pitching staff, and most notably the bullpen, are blowing leads, 4 of them in one game against the Marlins. Brandon, your first time on the show. I'll let you go first. What is your biggest concern with this bullpen, and what can be done to fix it?
Really, I don't have a lot of concerns for the bullpen. Honestly, we just need to get healthy. I mean, that's the straight up answer, is just get healthy. Starting pitching wise, I know it's more of a relieving question, but starting pitching wise, I'm happy with Palante, but I don't think he's the complete answer. But let's get healthy in the bullpen first. Obviously, adding an arm wouldn't be a bad idea. We've got about 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, to figure that out. But I have high hopes.
High hopes. Okay, Kyle, go.
Well, my dogs you hear barking in the background are Yachty and Augie. They heard pitching came up and they got really upset. So I apologize for their displeasure at the moment. But, we're a middle of the road team right now. We're a limp into the playoffs, middle of the road team, and we're doing what middle of the road teams do. We win some and we lose some, and we win some we shouldn't, and we lose some we shouldn't. And losing to the Marlins, the dogs are angry about it, just as I am. But, they did beat the Cubs. They won the series there, so all's right with the world if you do that. But nonetheless, losing to the Marlins, that was real concerning, obviously. But blips on the radar, so to speak, are going to happen with the bullpen. I guess I should ask you. You're the one that made the post that said, I'm mad at pitching. So, Ryan Jenkins, what's the matter with the pitching staff, and how do we fix it?
Well, conversation with Mo we had a couple weekends ago in Podcaster Day, Blogger Day. He said he wants to add another bullpen piece. So he is obviously worried about the bullpen at the deadline. And he's also said he has interest in adding Gordon Graceffo to the major league staff as a bullpen arm as well. So the main problem I have with it is was the Miami Marlins, and the Cardinals couldn't hold 4 different leads with 4 different pitchers and kept on blowing it to the worst team in the National League. And so it's more of, okay, whenever the hitting finally comes around, which they have over the last 3 weeks or so, and scored 7 runs, I do believe, in the one game against the Marlins, and then they still gave up the leads, and they had 2 extra inning games, even in the one they won. It's like, okay, why can't we do them both at the same time? You're right. We're a very middle of the road team, and maybe it's just what we expect. But I think we're middle of the road because most teams in baseball are middle of the road because of the equal schedule. So let's kind of move towards that. The new schedule, we're kind of seeing it play off now for the second year. Is this what is happening is because of the schedule? Is that why there's 7-8 teams that are within a game of each other for the wild card spot? Or is it just really mediocre teams in general and everyone's playing each other over and over again? Either one of you.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, you're going to let me go that on first. Yeah. So I tell you, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that I like the new schedule. I think it does lead to mediocrity. I think that's kind of maybe Major League Baseball's desire is to have more teams in the chase. I mean, look, how many times the playoffs have expanded in the last 20 years or so. So, it used to be you'd have 4 teams make postseason play. Now, what do we have? Half the league making postseason play. They're saying if there is a team in the playoff chase, that sells more tickets, that puts more TV sets. How old am I? That puts more TVs on baseball games, more eyes, more money for Major League Baseball, the more teams that are in a playoff chase. So if we can dumb down the schedule and make it more competitive and make more teams into the situation of being a playoff contender, then that helps the game. And I think it waters it down a little bit, as you've alluded to. And so there is that. But if I check the standings, I haven't looked at them today, but are we 7 out and in second place in the Central? Is that right? Is that correct? That's the last I saw.
6.5, I think.
6.5 now?
Yeah, 6.5 currently.
Yeah, so 6.5, but second place. We're 6.5 games out of the Central Division. That is, the Brewers aren't that good, right? So anyway, I don't like the schedule, and I think it does have something to do with it.
And I completely get what you're saying, Kyle. With the mediocrity and the changing of the schedules, I think it's all for TV. To get more people, more teams involved. Closer to the race, expanding the postseason. You hit the nail on the head on everything on that. I completely agree. But again, like you said, it waters everything down. Everything's mediocrity. And I agree. Again, I don't like it.
Well, I like only one part I do like about it is that we get to play every team every year. So for people that like to travel and go to games, and it gives a better opportunity to be able to add one or more of those teams to your chase, which is kind of exciting. But I want to go back to Brandon. There's a lot of good bobbleheads I see back there. Is there any that's worth something? Is there any that's your favorite? There's a lot. I mean, I don't have very many. I have some, but not very many as you. Which one's your favorite, or one that has some worth?
I would have to say my prized possession is a Dizzy and Daffy Dean bobblehead that was just given to the family through a foundation, and I got my hands on a pair. Apparently, I was one of the few that didn't have broken ankles. That became a big deal a month or two after I had received mine. So that's probably my pride and joy. Behind me, you probably see, I don't know, 315, 320, and I've still got 30 or 40 laying around that I still need to display.
315, 320 bobbleheads?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
I got a problem.
Yeah, bobblehead problem. I have a problem in general. It's nothing specific, I don't think. I think it's just all sports apparel and memorabilia of all kinds, signed, unsigned, authentic, things from the stadium. I have the armrest that you have on the top of the dugout. I have a 12-foot long armrest at the top of the dugout, the padded part. Yeah, it sits on my couch. My wife hates it, but that's all right.
Why?
What?
Why? Just because.
Yeah, exactly. Just because I could, and I do. And it came from Busch Stadium 2. No, which one was it? 3. I think it was a part of the original whenever they built the new one, and then they updated it. If you don't know, Brandon comes from this world, from broadcasting world. And tell me if you know any of these stations. Hold on, let me get to my notes. WRZR 94.5 in Lagodi, or WAMW in Washington. You know any of those stations?
Yeah, I actually worked AMW. I worked for a handful of years on the side. So,
well, there you go. Well, so this weekend, Saturday morning on WRZR 94.5 at 8:05 Eastern on Saturday, Lagodi, you can find me on there for a little hit talking about the Cardinals, and also on WAMW 107.9 at 9:05 a.m. Eastern time, and 95.9 101.3 The General at 10:05 Eastern time in Washington.
He knows that one too.
Yeah, all these. So I'm on these stations on Saturday morning for a little bit for talking about That's Winter podcast, and for these talking about the Cardinals. They also have some Cub talk, some Reds talk, like a little bit of that stuff. But I am their Cardinal person that will be featured on there. One moment, I have some other things. There is a way you can find them if you don't listen live. WAMWAMFM.com is the featured show on Monday that you can listen to that. And then on razor945.com, you can look at the sports podcasts and you'll be able to find my lovely voice there after that show hits on. I mentioned you, by the way, and to the guy, Brian Emmons. I said, hey, Brandon used to work there many years ago, but he didn't have anything to say about you, good or bad. So,
Yeah, probably have no clue who I am, but
Radio turnover. Yeah, and it's
that was a long time ago, different world. But
it's seriously
right.
been.
Yeah. All right. So, let's talk about a little bit right now about where should we go? Let's talk about Wilson Contreras. He just, if this is recorded, if you're listening, if it's live, he just grounded into a double play in Memphis with the bases loaded with 1 out. He, as Kyle Reese tweeted, he is ready for Major League Baseball if he's doing that already. So how do we feel about Wilson Contreras coming back soon? As John Mozeliak said, by the end of the month, same with Tommy Edman. And who goes whenever he comes back? Are you going for better defense? Or are you going for better offense with Ivan Rodriguez? Oh, well, Ivan Rodriguez. I wish we had Pudge. Ivan Herrera. Which one? Which one are we keeping? And what do we think Wilson will do right off the bat when he comes back?
Brandon, you're first.
All right. Sending the guy down, I'll hit that pretty easy. I think it's Paez. Unfortunately, although he's gotten a heck of a lot of playing time in the last 7 to 10 days, I think we've all lost faith in Herrera's arm, and Paez is behind the plate for a reason. But I do miss Herrera's bat, honestly. Paez is not quite there. Great kid. Love him to death. Hope he succeeds, all in all. But, I think he's the odd man out. Contreras, I'm very excited to see him up and going already. He's coming back soon. I just hope it's not too soon. Honestly, I'm a little worried about that, a little scared. But I hope everything's okay, and I hope everything works out well with the rehab, and he's back, and he is in fact 100% healthy, and contributes to the team. Second half of the season.
Well, you brought up injuries and Contreras, and the dog started barking again. So we should put them as regulars on the show. I guess maybe that's what they're after. So sorry about the barking in the background. But, I agree. I mean, obviously, Contreras is coming back. Contreras is going to start when he gets back because he's the starting catcher that they want. And quite frankly, I agree with Brandon. We're going to miss the bat. But the defense of Contreras will probably be supreme, and hopefully Contreras will get the bat back, get it going again at some point too down the line. But that's the change. The real question is, who's going down, and obviously, I think you're right with Paez, but nonetheless, we're going to have, as Chris was pointing out, a log jam at some point of some people that are going to have to move to make way for other people along the line.
Yes, so I'll bring that up. Chris asked, are we going to have a logjam, expendables, trade pieces with Contreras, Edman, Nootbaar, Robertson, O'Brien coming back, and Gallegos came back today. So what is going to happen? Are we going to have some moves that happen with these individual guys? I will say I don't think you will see those guys moved. Edman, Nootbaar, Contreras, those individual guys. Gallegos has probably little to no value at this point. So I don't know if any of those guys will move. So what kind of moves could you see to make more room or to be using those guys? I mean, Brandon, you probably watch or know more about the minor league system than either of we do, but what kind of moves can you foresee as Yachty barks some more back there?
Yeah. I try to catch a handful of Memphis games, and Springfield's not too far down the road from me, so I try to catch those as well. Try to keep up with Peoria the best I can. But Paez was actually the guy I've been eyeing for the last few years, right behind Herrera. So that's the catcher's position. I met Paez maybe 3-4 years ago when nobody knew him. So he's a good kid. I knew he was up and coming. And then the whole Contreras thing happened. So, but with the minor league system, I've been paying attention to pitchers. Honestly, nothing related to any of these guys position wise, but pitchers. Graceffo, you mentioned. I think he'd be a hell of an arm in the bullpen, especially like a September call up. To see what he's got, and then see what spring training brings, and then also Michael McGreevy. I've always loved that kid, basically, since we've drafted him. Michael McGreevy, I think we need to look out for. Potentially maybe he's a September call up. But yeah, I mean, basically, just pitching is what I've been paying attention to in the minor league system for a reason. But we'll see what happens. Moist in the outfield with Edmund and Newbar, Moises Gomez. Obviously, we're not going to give him a chance. We would have given him a chance 2 years ago when he hit 40 bombs in Memphis and didn't even blink an eye at him, and he hasn't done anything since. So we're not going to pay attention to him. But we've got a lot of talent in the Springfield and Memphis area, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see these guys brought up, but they need to be brought up in the right way and at the right time, like we haven't seen in the past few years. Just wasted talent, waiting too long. They fizzle out, and then we bring them up. Stuff like that, and then now we're kind of doing the reverse with Walker. So we've got that going for us.
Yeah, so I Sporting Turbo asked about the no hitter. There was a combined no hitter for the first time ever in Springfield yesterday. Who threw the no hitter yesterday?
Yeah, it was a combo between Cooper Jerpe and Andrew Marrero.
Yeah.
It's HJERPE for those of you spelling at home.
Yes. Yeah, Jerpe just was drafted just a couple years back. So I assume I don't know if he's ahead of schedule or not there, but obviously if you're throwing that well, but also I saw it was only 7 innings. Was it a double header? Do they only play 7? What's going on if it's only a 7-inning no hitter? Anyone?
It has to be.
Oh no, you don't have me on that.
Yeah.
Has to be a doubleheader. I have no idea why it would be a 7 innings. But speaking of Springfield and Jerpe, don't forget Tink Hentz. That dude is killing it in Springfield. And granted, it's only Springfield, and he's only 21, 22, whatever he may be, but he's pitching 5 innings every time. Double-digit strikeouts damn near every time. So you got to watch out for that kid. I just hope we develop him. The right way, and don't try to rush things.
Absolutely. I mean, Tinkins is obviously the crown jewel of the up and coming prospects for Memphis in the minor leagues for the pitching. So like, if you rush him like we did, like Mo admittedly says about Jordan Walker, you just try not to do the exact same thing with Tinkins and the other guys as well. All right, let's take a little break, and we'll talk about our new sponsor, and here's a little video to get you a little excited, and we'll do a giveaway in a moment as well. All right. Well, so we now have an actual sponsor, which I'm super, super excited about. Sheath Underwear, underwear of legends. And I don't know, neither of you probably even know the brand, and that's fine. And not very many people do. But I have a pair for each of you if either of you want some. You can't see them right here. I have 26 pairs of underwear standing on this table next to me, over $1,000 of underwear sitting here. And they've given us also cash and money for people to go online and buy things. So I have that new Larry Walker bobblehead. Did you get that one, Brandon? That from the giveaway the other night, a couple weeks ago?
Don't ask silly questions. I got it.
Okay. All right. So if anyone spends over $200 on Sheath and they can send me their receipt, I'll give them an extra bobblehead that I have of Larry Walker. Okay. So let's talk about them. They're very different. By very different, they're nothing like you've ever experienced. And it's very strange. Okay. So there's a pocket. You know what goes there? Okay. Right.
No, I
so
don't.
then you don't have any issues. But then there's another. It's very strange. It separates everything. You may think of it, okay, this is weird. It's very strange. These are like $30 pairs of underwear. With our 20% discount, whatever, 20% off of 30 gets that. But there's 2 spots. I went to a baseball game, Cardinals game, very hot, and I didn't even think about adjusting anything the whole time. So I sent an email to this company, Sheath. And I said, I want you to sponsor my podcast. And they said, yes. And because they are huge in the UFC world. Conor McGregor is a spokesman and things like that. So like they're huge in that world, not so much in the sport in the baseball world, but in athletic world in general. So I'm giving away a pair. So here's the question: whether here I give a pair away. I already gave him one pair away earlier in the week, so I'll give another one, and I'll mail you guys your own if you want some as well. Where is my question? You guys probably know this answer, obviously. How many consecutive Gold Gloves did Ozzie Smith win? That's the question. If we have someone that answers it through the chat, which the chat is up. Ooh, someone says the underwear looks comfy. So, in the chat. So, anyone, how many consecutive Gold Gloves did Ozzie Smith win? Whoever gives us that answer wins a pair of underwear, as long as you want a medium, a large, or an extra large, because those are the three that I have. Well, you counting? Do you know how many? Do you know the answer, Kyle, or do you not know the answer?
Giving everyone options.
Oh, lots of options.
Lots of options.
Oh, there we go. Andrew Swada Slaughter. 13 is the correct answer. Andrew, you're watching on Facebook. Send me a DM message, whatever your address, and we'll get you a pair of your new sheets. So the point of this is I'm going to give away so many of these, 20 some odd pairs. Then you're going to wear them for the first time. Then you got to send a review, and then you're going to end up wanting to buy some because you're like, I didn't know this is what I'm supposed to have. So this is probably going to be Kyle's pair or Josh's pair whenever he comes back, because I opened it and now no one wants the pair that I just opened. But okay, now let's go on. Let's keep moving.
Are going to be on the underwear that you sent me. That's great. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, whatever. It's better than yours than some rando.
Hey, give out the discount code. What do people
on the bottom?
The discount code.
That's Winter Podcast, brought to you by Sheath Underwear of Legends. 20% discount code is That's a Winner. Use that code and you get 20% off. We appreciate it. They're already giving us money, whether or not you use the code or not. But we would like to continue to get more money from them in the future so we can be able to give away more things. Because I plan not only to give away all this underwear, but then because of the many monies that they gave us, we can give away a jersey. We can give away more things because of the money that they gave us. Andrew says he's going to send us a message. So, all right, let's move on to something different conversation. The Cardinals played at Rickwood Field on Thursday night. It was really cool. So I first want to have your thoughts on that and the ceremonies and all those types of things, where you sit with it and what could be next. Where would be a next place? Because I wouldn't have thought of Rickwood as the next place after Iowa and things like that. So where is next, do you think that the Major League Baseball should look? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, the obvious answer is Bosse Field in Evansville, Indiana, because that's where we're close to. And that is, there was an article, another interview out this week with Mr. Bussey, who owns the Evansville Otters that play at Bosse Field, which is an historic stadium in Evansville, Indiana. And the interest is still there. Some folks had talked about maybe it had gone by the wayside, and it is in fact not. They're talking about, though, the need of multi-million-dollar renovations to Bosse Field. I think that number is around $3 million. To bring it up to code. So one of the things that will have to happen is the dugouts will have to shift further away from home plate. They're going to have to bring in some temporary lighting to make it major league, level lighting, I guess. There were some other, what was the other thing they were going to do? They're leaving the seats alone. So if you're a Bosse Field fan, don't worry about that. They're not changing the seats, but the dugouts were one of the and resurfacing the field. Those are the two main things that are going to have to happen for Bosse Field in Evansville to become the next historic stadium stop. My only concern is I don't know that I want it next, because since the Cardinals were playing in this game, would they put the Cardinals in a back-to-back historic game? They did say that one of the teams that would be in a presumptive game at Busch Stadium would be one of the quote-unquote area favorites, which probably narrows that down to Cardinals, Cubs, and Reds. So hopefully the good guys win out on that when that happens at some point. But obviously that would be a cool place. And I don't care how many pairs of underwear we have to give away. We will get into that and see that it happens at Bosse Field in Evansville.
Well, that was my initial thought too. Is Bosse Field has got to be in it. I didn't know all the data of what they need for that. Did you know how much money they put into Rickwood Field? Did you see that number at all? Because I know they did a lot of renovations there too.
And by the way, we should point out the news article that I saw. I believe it was on ABC 25 here locally, with the interview, said that $3 million would have to be privately raised. That's not money Major League Baseball is investing. That would be private raised money. And the former mayor of Evansville, Lloyd Winnicky, is now with a big civic organization that is trying to kind of get that spearhead that job and get that done. So that's the latest on that front.
Yeah, I mean, basically where I would like to see it, going off your Evansville Otters and Bosse Field. What about Huntingburg, Indiana, with the Du Bois County Bombers? I'm, my mind's blown, and I can't remember the name of the stadium, but where the Du Bois County Bombers play, and that's where A League of Their Own was partially filmed as well. But with Rickwood Field game last night, I missed the ceremonies due to my son's baseball game, but was able to make first pitch and fell asleep in the seventh inning. But I really like the atmosphere. I love the interviews in between the game, in between the innings, and you learned a lot. With the Negro leagues, that a lot of the ordinary fan may not know. And and I'm excited to say that I'm going to the Negroes League Hall of Fame in Kansas City in August. For my first time. So I'm excited to learn more about that. But it was a fun night to watch baseball for sure.
Yeah, I went to the Negro League Museum. Was that last year? I think I went to Kansas City. Yeah, I think last year, and we went to that museum, and it was great. And the guy, I can't think of his name. He was on Fox last night talking about it. And Twitter just fell in love with them, or X, or whatever you want to call it. They fell in love with him and his storytelling. And someone even said, now without Vin Scully in this world, that this guy might be the next best storyteller, baseball storyteller living. And I think he did an amazing job of giving us all the things that you didn't know about. But like Turkey, the guy named Turkey, he's a part of the museum in Kansas City. Like, I thought it was done really, really well. I think the people complained the ballpark was a little too big, and they did move the fences in, I think, as well. Same with Bosse Field. If you talk about that ballpark is ginormous for a real actual ballpark where the brick wall goes out to in outfield. But yeah, I think that both of you nailed it on the head with League of Their Own. Small fact that Kyle was actually an extra in League of Their Own. How old were you whenever that happened?
Like 10, I don't know. I was 8, something like that.
It was like 40 years ago, so that checks out.
There's a picture somewhere.
Yeah, that puts him at like 12.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like 54, so yeah, I think that adds up. I think that adds up.
League Stadium is where the Bombers play, by the way, and why not do a tie-in with League of Their Own and do a doubleheader, a day-night doubleheader, right in the Evansville tri-state region with the Bombers and Bosse Field. You can bring the Reds over for the Bombers game, and the Cardinals can go to Bosse, and there you go.
Yeah, I think that it's like really, I mean, it obviously makes sense. I think there's not as much, I don't know if history is the right word, but there's not as much knowledge about that place that there would be about Rickwood Field or obviously in Iowa. But I think that it makes sense. I don't know the right way to say it, but I think that has to be one of the next ones. But there's probably ones that we're not thinking of or we know about either. But I didn't know Bob Kendrick is the name. Thank you, Andrew, for that. Was the guy that for the Negro League Museum, and he was fantastic. And Brandon, I think you're gonna just love it. I mean, it is, and they're getting a huge renovation. I think they're adding a huge another building onto everything, and it's a really good place. Like we're cruising right now. We're only 30 minutes in. And we've talked about, I feel like 5 different subjects already. And we've talked about Sheath, and we've talked about the radio. Where do we go next? What's next on your agenda? Kyle, you have something?
Yeah, well, let me just, before we leave the historic game last night, one of the cool things, not cool, but kind of an ironic thing was the passing of Willie Mays this week, right before the game at the field that kind of was where Willie Mays was born. In the Major League Baseball realm, I guess you would say. But cool story, sticking in the Evansville tri-state area in my hometown of Mount Carmel, Illinois. was the fact that there was, Willie Mays was famous, rightfully so, for the catch that he made over his shoulder. And the pitcher of that pitch was born here in Mount Carmel, Illinois. That's right in the heart of Cardinals country. Don Little is his name. He served in the military in World War II. 27 years old after military service, debuted for the Braves in Milwaukee at the time. And then became famous, obviously, for his time with the Giants, but he retired as a St. Louis Cardinal through all of that. So I don't know if I can, trying to do this correctly. Let's see if I can. Do you see his picture now?
Hold, I would have to
You're
show
gonna, you won't,
it.
You're not
Hold on.
going to. Okay,
There
there
you
it is. There he is. That's his baseball card picture. Don Little. He pitched for the Giants. Was the Game 4 winner in the '57 World Series. Also threw that pitch that Willie Mays caught in Game 1. And the most ironic, cool story I can tell you, outside of the fact that Don Little retired as a Cardinal and then moved back to Mount Carmel after his 1 year in St. Louis, was that he ended up getting the glove that Willie Mays used to make the catch. Willie gave him the glove. And then that glove got passed down to his sons. Ultimately, I believe this is correct, a grandson was using the glove in Little League and would treat it just like any kid would a Little League glove. Leave it at the ball stadium. Hey, little Johnny lost his gloves. Anybody have it? And finally, they found out what they had, and obviously took it out of service at that point in time, but did loan it to Cooperstown to have it used in the museum there for a time. It may still be there, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, the cool story there with a Cardinals, former Cardinal, more noted for being the Giants pitcher that threw the pitch that Willie Mays caught with the catch.
Like, how much do you think that thing's worth? And they were just,
I don't know.
And they're just playing with it in a regular. That is wild. Kyle, we see a lot of stuff behind you, memorabilia wise. Any prized possessions or things that you have collected over the years that is like your favorite?
Tough to say favorites. A lot of the stuff that I've got here are from experiences, right? So you and I had the opportunity to throw out first pitches at spring training. I've got that down there.
You bounced the ball,
course.
right?
Yeah, I bounced the ball. Yeah, I bounced the ball. Adron Chambers caught yours. There you go. I remember that.
Keith Butler caught yours,
Butler,
right?
The former Wabash Valley College baseball player, caught mine, who was obviously Wabash is from here.
Mine is autographed by Adron Chambers and someone else, and I can't remember who it is autographed by. It was autographed with like a purple, a bright red like Sharpie, and it looks terrible. But it's like bleeding all over. It's just not like, that's what, it was just terrible. But Adron Chambers and you bounced yours and I threw mine as a perfect strike. Go ahead, continue. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I would just say, the experiences part of that. That's what I love about the cases here, is to be able to look in the case and go, I remember we were at the 2009, all three of us at the 2009 All-Star game together, and what a wild experience that was. And being a Game 7 of the 11 World Series, just looking at all those kinds of things, it's just really cool to look back and reflect. I do have every bobblehead the museum has given out, Brandon. So there, I'm trying to keep pace with you. I've got all the
Brandon
museum bobbleheads. Yeah, I'm sure he does. I had to have them resend me the one of them, the Suter one this year, because the one they sent me broke. So I have a broken Suter bobblehead if anybody wants a broken bobblehead. But nonetheless, that's probably the story on my cases. More so the personal moments and memories at watching Cardinal games. Sadly, I've not put too many more memorable things in this case in a while. Let's go, boys. It's time.
That's a good point. Let's talk about it's time. So trade deadline is on its way, coming soon. John Mozeliak has talked about wanting to add a center fielder, right-handed bat. He has talked about wanting to add a bullpen arm, and he's talked about wanting to sign or trade for a starting pitcher. Brandon, I think Kyle and everyone else in this world knows where I sit with Trevor Bauer. So what is your thought on Trevor Bauer in his inability to be on a team, and if he makes more sense than giving up our own player capital to get someone else.
Okay, I'm going to try to break this down as best I can, censored, because I've had this conversation several times, off camera and off mic. But I'm right there with you, Ryan, with Trevor Bauer. I seriously don't get it. He wasn't convicted of anything. He's not guilty of anything, however you want to say it. So how I would approach it, back in March, say, it's still spring training. I would sit him down. The front office sits him down, talks to him, and says, "Hey, this is what I need you to do. This is the Cardinal way. You said through Twitter or social media or whatever that you would play for league minimum. We are going to give you league minimum. And I swear to God, one strike and you're out. You're done. See you later. That's it." But, and then that would be worst case scenario. So, okay, the kid fails after 4 to 6 weeks into the season. He screws up. We're out league minimum. Oh, well, we gave him one strike. We release him. If we don't, and the kid is actually, got his head on right for league minimum, why not? Right?
You guys might know this answer better than I do. So if they signed him right now, league minimum, I assume, shrinks to what is the playable rest of the year, or is it? Yeah, half-ish, right? So we're talking about $400,000 in. Nolan Arenado makes like 150-ish a game. Okay, so if we're talking about 400K-ish for Trevor Bauer for the rest of the season, I don't understand.
I just don't get it. There's way more reward than risk here, in my opinion. Like I said, the front office sits him down, says one strike and you're out, bud. All right, we'll give you the opportunity. We'll be the black sheep, and then maybe have somebody like Arenado, Goldie, whatever veterans you have in the clubhouse saying, "Hey, this is how we run the clubhouse. If you don't like it, boo, scoot, and boogie." And give him that opportunity. And if he doesn't like it, and if he doesn't succeed or meet your expectations, then hit the door, Jack. We're out league minimum, no big deal. We waste money every day. So
right, and a lot more money to people that aren't hitting. Well, my also thought of this is Marcell Ozuna. He is leading the league in home runs. He's leading the league in OPS. He's leading the league in all these categories. And this man was on video, and his wife calling in saying that he's choking her. And there is actual charges, actual arrest. They were dropped because his wife would still like to make money and for him to play in Major League Baseball. But he was actually charged and arrested, and there's even actual evidence against him for doing those actions. And he is allowed to not only play, but play for one of the most relevant teams in baseball. And then he's playing at a very, very high level. So what's the difference between Trevor Bauer and Marcell Ozuna, or Aroldis Chapman, who, as you remember, they played Smack Your Bitch Up as his song, his walk-in song, and they got in trouble for it. But what's the difference? Anyone?
I don't know that there's a difference. The thing that I would say is that you start to question, not necessarily conspiracy theory is the right word, but how much is the league office, talking major league office, dictating to other teams, conversations or not, with Bauer? And I think there was an article out just today that said that he is contemplating suing Major League Baseball if no team is going to pick him up. And there are some people within that article suggesting it could be $1 billion lawsuit that he could be bringing if a team doesn't pick him up. But I'm in your camp at this point. You're going to have one long, uncomfortable beginning press conference. That's it, provided he keeps his nose clean. And you got to believe, unless he's an idiot, right? Nobody's going to keep their nose cleaner than he would be if given the opportunity he claims to so desperately want. So, I think there's tremendous upside there. One uncomfortable press conference, and if there's another need for another uncomfortable press conference, then he's done.
Well, I also have this thought of, why is there need to be a press conference? If we signed someone that's not pitching in the major leagues tomorrow, would there be a press conference?
Well, the problem is there's going to be, because it's going.
I
You're
get
gonna,
that,
you're
but
gonna want to have one.
if we
Get it out of the
sign
way.
Joe Blow to a contract tomorrow for league minimum, would there be a press conference?
If we sign Bauer tomorrow,
No, Joe Blow.
Joe
Somebody.
Blow tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
So
But the
why?
problem
There's not
is,
even a reason to even. The point is, you just run him out there and you get him and you give him an opportunity. But I guess he should sue. But I think he knows, and I think we all know, the moment he sues, his career is over because he's then just trying to make money being sued, and he will be forever blackballed. And I think he would win whenever he sues. We got Brandon, not this Brandon. Brandon on YouTube chimes in. That is not the Cardinal way. I do not support Bauer, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not sure why you don't support Bauer, if you know the facts or don't know the facts, Brandon. But the question is, that's not the Cardinal way, is what you say. But if we think about Johnny Peralta, is what is in him actually breaking the law and doing steroids, and after he served his suspension, guess what team signed him? The St. Louis Cardinals. So what is the Cardinal way and what is not the Cardinal way? I'm not sure about that being the Cardinal way. And also the Cardinal way has gone wayside for the last couple of years as well. Any of you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I want to jump in on this. Like you said, the Peralta, he was actually at the back of my mind when you said that. Also, Ryan Franklin, and he did roids in Seattle before he signed with St. Louis. That's not the Cardinal way, but he got an All-Star vote. In a Cardinal uniform. But and back to the Bauer thing. No, it's not the Cardinal way. But that's what I said. You sit down with the front office. Here is the Cardinal way. I'm going to break down the rules to you one by one. Do you understand me? And then you get into the clubhouse. Arenado, Goldie, whoever sits him down and says, "Here's the Cardinal way. This is how we run the clubhouse. Do you understand me?" And like I said, again, I'm repeating myself 3 or 4 times. And if you don't like it, get out. And then worst case scenario, you're out league minimum, and he wins a game or two or whatever. But best case scenario, you got a potential Cy Young candidate as your third, fourth, fifth starter. I mean, that's crazy.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Let me add to this, that if it turns out that this is the swan song for Mozeliak and this is it, he's done after this year. If you wanted to have a scapegoat, there you go. If you sign him and things go south and it goes bad, we'll get rid of him and the guy that signed him at the same time. It's over with. Back to the whole press conference thing. I think you do it to address it. If you make the move that way, it doesn't linger and there's question after question, day after day after day. Every stop you make, no, we're going to do this one time in this setting, get it over with, and here we go. But it makes a lot of sense. I understand there will be people like Brandon on YouTube that don't like the move. I get it. I understand you've got those people with the opinions that are just not ever going to go that way. However, Cardinals make moves every day I don't like. Sometimes multiple. So nonetheless.
John Mozeliak did say he did not want to appear. What was the word that he used? He said that they didn't want to appear desperate by signing Trevor Bauer. At what point are the Cardinals desperate? So let's say they're not going to sign Trevor Bauer.
Desperate.
Yeah, they're not going to sign Trevor Bauer at this point. All right, let's say that's not going to happen. So at what point do the Cardinals make a move for a starting pitcher? Because we have two now that are injured. If Gibson, injured or not, but they're desperate now. So what moves can happen to bolster this starting rotation? Because Lance Lynn, who has been good, has not been as good recently, especially against the Marlins. So what moves can you see? And sorry, before we move on, Brandon also chimes in on YouTube again. He said that the clubhouse would be against it. I don't think that's true. Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer are known friends, and Trevor Bauer has said that Sonny Gray and he are friends. Actually, to my tweet that I tweeted at Trevor Bauer, he said that he and Sonny Gray are friends, and that he has players on every team in Major League Baseball that has reached out to him and won him on their team, but it's more of a higher level issue. So I don't think that would be the case either, Brandon. So moving on. even though can talk about that all day. But I know everyone doesn't want to talk about that. But let's move on and say what kind of moves, what pitchers have been or would be looked at. John Mozeliak has said specifically a front-end starter, right-handed center fielder, and a bullpen arm. What names are out there? Brandon, probably, again, you probably are more in knowledge of these individual guys that may be who the Cardinals would look at. And then what depth pieces or even bigger name pieces would have to go to get some of those guys.
Well, honestly, I wasn't given an itinerary tonight, so I'm not prepared
Yes,
whatsoever.
I did not prep you, but I just thought you're a genius. So I give you all that.
You're damn right. I am a genius. Out at this moment. About 10 minutes after we stop with the live podcast, I'll probably have an answer for you conveniently. But, right-handed center fielder, I think you said that a show or two ago. I did brainstorm for a little bit, and I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would be a great fit. Pitching, I'll take the easy route. We just talked about Bauer for the last 10 minutes. That's just yeah. I mean, with Mo potentially leaving after next season, I think after the 25 season, I mean, why not go all out? What are you scared of? Get fired? Who cares? Go after Bauer. Like I said, it's a lot of reward and very little risk, in my opinion. But in a bullpen arm, obviously, yeah, we have a lot of no names in the bullpen. We honestly don't have any big names in Memphis. Hell, even Springfield, honestly. There is a lot of starting pitching, but relief pitchers, there's not a lot of big names out there in the minor league side of things with Springfield and Memphis. But like Grisafo, he's a starting pitcher, but you want to throw him in the bullpen in September? I'm cool with that. Let's try him out. Michael McGreevy, I wouldn't start him in September, but I'm cool with him being a September call up in at the end of the year. But these are all starters. Mid-range relievers. I really don't know. Like I said,
they're a dime a dozen. Anyways,
yeah,
I mean,
they really are. I mean, really, seriously, who is better than the next guy? Like,
Right.
What is it? Tomato. So, you can pretty much, just for the pick.
Think about the JoJo Romero trade, really, right? You send him into Sosa. JoJo Romero gets brought onto the Cardinals. He gets sent down initially on the minor league team, and then this year he's been spectacular. He gave up a home run the other night, but he's been spectacular. So, and if you think about moves that the Cardinals have made, Shepsinski, Dotel, like all these guys over the years that are just extra pieces, those are the type of moves that happen that are change the outcomes.
Yeah, and those were the guys that's like, oh yeah, I've heard of him, and then and then that's it. But then he's spectacular the second half of the season when we get him at the trade deadline. It just that's how it happens. Kittredge has been great. I'm a fan of Kittredge. I think he's kind of been a little bit off the last few weeks. He's not been as solid as he was the first 6 weeks of the season. But I think that's a trade that's going to pay off. I hated to see Palacios go, but Kittredge I think is going to be damn good in the bullpen, and one guy that we talk about come September that helped us in some games.
Yeah, and I think that Matthew Libator has shown that he should be a bullpen arm, not a starting pitcher at this moment. Maybe that changes next season, but he's been very, very good in the bullpen. So I think you got to make a move for a starter to keep him out of the starting rotation. Chris chimes in and a couple others chime in about other possibilities. I don't want to mess up the names, but here, I'll put them up on the screen of how you possibly actually say them. Is that like Fetty Wap? Anyone?
Sure.
Okay. Crochet, a couple other different guys that make sense. Lizardo, I've heard that name. Here, Andrew chimes in with similar to, but then Gossman. I assume he's talking about the Cy Young winner and that. Let's see. We have other comments. They're rolling in as well. This Ron says, I think the pitching will be stable. Yes, maybe a number 5 would be nice, but I think the deadline should be more offensive driven. Now, I agree and disagree. You guys can tell me where you sit with this. I agree and disagree. I said at the last season in the offseason that I was most worried about the offense going into this year because of the streakiness of the collection of hitters. So I do wish that they sign a hitter in the offseason, and I would like to see one more brought in at the deadline. But I don't think you're going to see a splash of Pete Alonso. I don't think you're going to see a splash of some big name guy. I think they're going to be additions that make sense in the Cardinal way. But a number 5 isn't going to really help this team either. I think you got to be trending more to like a number 3-ish, not a number 5, because we have a lot of number 5s, I feel like, already. So I don't think another number 5 is where they kind of need to go.
Yeah, I think you're right there, but I do like the offensive comment a little bit, and I think if I'm going to give us credit for being in a difficult spot, one of the spots that I think it's difficult is with the injuries and the players coming back. So, your starting catcher, your projected starting center fielder in Edman coming back from injury, you're kind of, before you're thinking you need to go get another bat, want to see if those bats are going to be helpful. Were they too much before they went down? Yeah, but we haven't seen Edman. But nonetheless, I think you've got to be somewhat patient bat-wise to see if what you have coming back is going to get you where you need to be with the bat. And you could also make the argument that from a pitching standpoint, it's been not terrible. Maybe we call the last couple of weeks a blip on the radar and kind of say, and I'm hating that I say these words, that status quo is okay. We're hanging in there pitching wise. And I may kind of lean more towards offense here too.
Yeah, I mean, with the offense, with Edman, Nootbaar, Contreras coming back, maybe that is our trade deadline.
Ooh, there you go. It's just like a trade.
Yeah, exactly. But everything has to align with the sun and the moon and everything. But if the potential, potential is a very big word. But with Edman obviously not playing all year, who knows what he's going to do? Nootbaar can't play more than 10 days in a row, and Contreras coming back rather quickly from a broken arm. But that's a damn good trio if it all pans out just right, and that could be our midsummer boost right there. And with I think Ryan said it. It's don't need a number 5 starter, need more of a number 3. And how about we kick down who we call number 2s and 3s and 4s? Why don't we kick them down a notch and get a guy in that 3 spot? If we're lucky too.
Let's trade 4 5s for 2 3s.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be perfectly fine with me as well. All right, so I want you to think about one more topic or 2 more topics. I want to play one more quick video about my favorite new underwear, which I have on currently, by the way, if you care. No, you don't care? Okay. All right. So just watch this. You guys think of one more topic, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back in. Then so sheath.com, use the code That's a Winner for 20% off. It is a strange thing, okay? You never thought about this type of underwear because you've never thought you've needed it. Once you wear it, then you'll realize why it makes sense of that you need it, and you never knew that you needed it before, and then you won't even think about it, which is awesome. I will give away another pair tonight. We'll do it on Twitter after this. Anyone have a reason, a way to get rid of it? I don't care. You give it away by anything you want. We'll give it away on Twitter. I'll mail out 5 pairs tomorrow and then we'll be able to give away like 5 a week for the next few weeks. I want to piggyback off just one thing before we move on to whatever topics you guys came up with, because as I did not prep Brandon, I didn't even prep myself because I kind of make it up as I go anyways. But I want to talk about Tommy Edman because, and Wilson Contreras, John Mozeliak said we can expect Tommy Edman by the end of June. It didn't mean that we can expect him in full, go, but he expect him by the end of June. As we record this or we're live is June 21st. There's not very many days left in June to be seeing Tommy Edman. He hasn't at this point made any rehab starts anywhere like Wilson Contreras has. And then also Nootbaar have we heard anything about Nootbaar, his expectations? We know Contreras and Edman are soon. What about Nootbaar? Do we know anything, fellas?
No, I haven't heard anything. I thought he was going to start rehabbing possibly. Was it this weekend? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was maybe this weekend. He was right behind Contreras.
Yeah, so those three guys coming back is a shot in the arm. Obviously, it's got to be good to get him back in the clubhouse, in the dugout, that type of movement. And Brandon, last week, I don't remember when it was, we did talk about a right-handed bat and playing center field. I don't know if you know the name, Harrison Bader. He is a right-handed bat that plays center field. Would that be something you'd be in favor of or not in favor of?
I've heard of him, I think. Me personally, Brandon would not be in favor, but I know a lot of people around where I live would be in favor for sure. It's not like he's bad for the clubhouse or anything. It's just I honestly don't have a reason why I say no. I just say no, and I know that most of St. Louis County would be totally against that and all for him. The Bader lovers of St. Louis. So I don't know. Me personally, no.
But is he better than everything that we've ran out there this season?
Oof. Who, if he had played, would you rather have Ciani or Bader?
Ciani, Victor Scott, batting .084, and Ciani are the two guys that have played center field really this season. Dylan Carlson has played a little bit as well, but those are the two that have really taken up the real at-bats out of center field.
Carlson definitely doesn't count. Ciani, man, I love Scott. I think that was another kid we kind of rushed. You talked about Walker last week. God, I want to see Scott succeed so bad it's not even funny.
I agree.
Ciani, it felt like once he was given that opportunity, he started to boost up a little bit, but now he's mellowing out, fading out. I don't know what the exact word is. And Bader's injury prone. I'll throw that out there. Does that make anybody?
But Ciani is still available if Bader is injured.
But that one is your starting center fielder and one is your backup center fielder. I definitely don't like that combo.
Yeah, well, this is obviously because Edman is coming back in some capacity, right? So he is going to be. He was planned to be the center fielder for the Cardinals in 2024, which have obviously not panned out as we're almost into July. So like that's where it is, but they obviously don't have enough confidence in his healthiness because Mo has specifically sought after a right-handed center fielder, is what he's said he wants. So my assumption is they don't think that he's going to be much of a hitter or much of a center fielder. There's something there, but it's not going to be a big bat. You got to think it's not going to be some big name, obviously Mike Trout type names, other big center fielder names. It's going to be someone that on an expiring contract, which Harrison Bader is, that would make more sense. And to me, on paper, Harrison Bader kind of fits the bill of what the Cardinals are looking for in this short-term window.
I mean, what do you think they're looking for? Are they looking for power? Are they looking for speed? Are they looking for defense? And did you just say you're in favor of Bader if that's an option?
I think what they're looking for is a combination of that fills those needs the best. I think what they're looking for from our conversation with Mo is they want someone that can play defense well and that can hit better than what they've had in center field so far this year. So, yes, I think that would be Harrison Bader on that level. I just think it makes sense. I don't know that I'm in favor or not in favor of it. I think it just adds up to that making sense for what the Cardinals want and what he is.
Right.
And part of the problem is that player that is good bat, good field, good teammate probably doesn't exist. in the market that we're in right now. So that's going to be the rub. Which of those things matters most? And I'm not sure that to the Cardinals we know that answer at this point. Some breaking news that just hit: Paul DeYoung, we remember Paulie D, was on first base for the White Sox with 1 out in the 9th, down 2-1. Teammate hits a fly ball to center field. Paulie D thinks there's 2 outs and gets doubled off because he rounded second base. And so he lost the game for the White Sox. There you go.
Oh. Well, I don't know. This Brandon guy, he does not like you, Brandon. Brandon on Brandon Crime. Stop hating on Dylan. That's not a Cardinals fan way. Now, I would like, you can respond to that first if you'd like, but I would like to then have a conversation about something. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, while it's my turn to talk, I'll hit on a couple of things. Brandon sounds like a really smart guy, so I don't need to dumb anything down. Hating on Dylan, I'm not hating on Dylan. It's just Dylan doesn't count because he's played, a handful of games in center field. He's mostly been in right field, and no offense, been on the DL half the season. But and on top of not performing, no offense. But that was just the center field talk. So no hate on Dylan. My 5-year-old, it's his favorite player. I have no idea why, but Dylan Carlson's favorite player. And I already forgot what I was going to hit with next. Whatever Kyle said, I had a rebuttal, and we're good.
Oh, I don't know why Brandon chose violence tonight. This Brandon on YouTube.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
I thought he was in Scotland. I didn't know he was playing.
Oh, that's funny. That is what we would call a callback. Josh, who is on the show quite frequently, I think gets back today or tomorrow from Scotland. So that is funny. And people that know Josh would think that's funny. But I want to ask you about, you guys may have come up with other things and we can keep going as long as you want, but it is Friday night for that matter. I don't know what you guys are doing tomorrow, but anyways.
What are we doing here on Friday? No, go ahead.
Yeah. Because the Cardinals are off. We go on off.
I understand.
The Cardinals are off.
Yeah.
When people talk about the Cardinal way and being a fan, what do you think about how they judge fans being fans? Because here's what I'm getting at is people had a problem with whenever Skeens got a standing ovation when he left the game in St. Louis and pitched really well. So, and people said, to me, that is the Cardinal way. If we want to talk about Cardinal way, like that is like Cardinals fans are known as good fans that care about baseball, watch baseball intently, and they celebrate good plays from both sides. That is why revered as best fans in baseball, according to Cardinals fans, and best fans in baseball to broadcasters and those sort of things. So when people like Brandon tell you to stop hating because that is not a Cardinals fan way, it's kind of both-sided on that. Does it give you some like own hatred inward to Cardinals fans that think higher of themselves than the outside world does? Because I do think higher of Cardinals fans because all three of us have been to a lot of different ballparks and seen a lot of different fans. And not everyone is there to watch baseball games like in Chicago and other places. They're not there for baseball. They're there for other things. So I'm just wondering where you guys sit. And Brandon, I can tell you're ready to jump on it. So go ahead.
Well, I think you are, Ryan, maybe Kyle too, but I'm part of a couple of groups on Facebook with Cardinal fans, and it makes me ashamed every day, the stupid comments and posts I see every day. But so I doubt the best fans in baseball daily as soon as I see a post from those pages. But the Paul Skeens thing, yeah, you're right. That is the Cardinal way. And then with Dylan Carlson, I want all 26 guys to succeed. I really do. I want every damn one of them to hit 300 with 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. I want 20 game winners on the mound. But when they're not performing, I'm not happy. And that's being a fan. I'm not going to degrade them. I'm not going to wish ill will on them. But, if they're playing poorly, they're playing poorly. But, I'm going to support every single guy regardless, whether I like them or not. If they're wearing their uniform, they're on my team.
And I agree with that. And I would say, especially with Josh, who's not here tonight, that I am usually the more positive person. Like I'm not like this team. Like Josh is pretty negative. I will tell you all this via text message. He is like, this team is terrible. They're awful. This game, they're losing this game, and they come back and win the game. And I say, shut up, you're an idiot. I told you so. Like I'm pretty like in the middle. I think Brandon, you are closer to that middle level than Josh is, but Kyle tends to be a little negative at times too. So, Kyle, your thoughts on what I said and Brandon in that, that side of the world. I want to know what your best fans in baseball type of thought is.
Well, since I'm so negative, it's all bubbles and rainbows. It's just a beautiful sight. Everything that we see on a daily basis, it's just the best thing ever that exists. Now, bear with me on this because I don't think it's negative. I think sometimes we get a little stuck on the Cardinal Way. Yeah, the Cardinal Way is a cool thing. It's a cool book by a cool guy who did a lot of cool things in the Cardinal clubhouse for a lot of years. There's been some hate toward the Cardinal Way. Players who don't want to come because that's an expectation. I think to remain relevant in the modern world of baseball, the Cardinal Way is going to have to adapt a little bit. I didn't say change, didn't say be completely different and rewritten, but I think we're going to have to be a little bit more adaptable to adaptations to what we know as the Cardinal Way. People are negative, and when you're not winning, negativity is going to come out because this is not a franchise and not an organization, not a team that is used to losing. And imagine being a fan of a team that wins a World Series once every 100 years. That would be terrible. I don't know why you'd wear blue with a C on your cap for. I don't know why you do such a thing. But, it's just one of those things that I think people are frustrated. Players are frustrated. Ownership is frustrated. Mo is probably frustrated. Fans are frustrated. And so you're going to see a lot of people expressing frustrations in a lot of different ways. Sometimes that's a little crazy. Chris talking about the Cardinal Nation Facebook group. I do not envy that job at all of moderating 70,000 members. I think I'd hit mute on all and just stop discussion. But it's interesting. I hate to be the one I hate to say that the Cardinal Way has got to change. I do love the fact that we applaud other players for making good plays. That proves you're smart baseball fans. So that I hope never changes, although never clap for a Cub. I don't care what they are.
I would like to say, Chris, he does a great job. Chris has now put us on Cardinals Nation 24/7 Facebook group and Cardinals Nation 24/7 page, which has 100,000 followers. We're streaming live there right now, and we appreciate him putting us in both of those places. I mean, that puts us in front of 170,000 eyeballs, which they may not all be active humans, but we appreciate him nonetheless. Yeah, and so Kyle, to piggyback off what you said, in those situations, like yes, that is like the Cardinal Way is exactly what you talk about, but it does have to change because it's so far gone. But also, we are spoiled as can be. So if as let's say a team that hasn't won a World Series ever, the Brewers that are doing really well this season, but if they are 500 and in the playoff hunt this far into the season and they had never won anything, they're not losing their minds, I don't think, as fans because of where we are. The Cardinals fans are where we are right now is because of last season. If this season right now was happening last season, I think the reactions would be different as well because the Cardinals are in playoff contention. The Cardinals did not get above 500 as late as April last year. And we obviously have done that. The Cardinals have done that in June already because they got above 500 now, back to even, I think. But where they sit was never a good year last year. So if you get rid of last year and the Cardinals in the same position this year, I think there's a lot less anger because of that. But my point is that the Cardinals fans, we are all very, very spoiled, but that also means that we've also expect differently. The Cardinals haven't won in a long time, being a championship in Cardinals' eyes. But let's not forget what happened in the 1990s, where the Cardinals were pretty irrelevant until Mark McGwire showed up and changed kind of the things from there. All right, so let's. Unless you have anything else, someone wants to talk about the draft. Now, I have no idea about the draft. Brandon, you have no prep. Do you know anything about the draft and who the Cardinals might be looking for early on in the draft and what would look good?
Thank you for asking, Ryan. I have absolutely nothing to add to the draft.
I was hoping that was the answer just to do that. But I appreciate you coming on the show tonight because I think you're a good addition. And I also enjoy the hatred that you and Brandon's have for each other. I've enjoyed it. I don't know why. I have really enjoyed
Hey,
the time.
other Brandon did say, "Love the show, keep it going."
Yes,
So
he did.
It's all good.
He did say he loves the show. That may mean he doesn't like Brandon because Brandon's new to the show tonight. But I do believe that Brandon has been a good addition, and his voice sounds as good as ever.
Hey, Brandon, you need to tell these guys that you love Brandon and I can be invited again.
But my thought is Brandon is commenting as himself to fight himself to start the conversation.
Make it look good.
Right, exactly.
Hey,
all right.
I'll give you one draft thing because I just Googled it. How about that?
Okay.
So there's the latest mock draft has the Cardinals taking Braden Montgomery, an outfielder from Texas A&M. Had a really good year. He was mocked as high as the number 4 pick, but now they've moved him to the 7 pick because he had an ankle injury at the end of the season. But anywhere through 4 through 7 to 8, they say is his range. He is an outfielder, so there's one thing that we can think about. And by the next podcast episode, I'll be more well versed on draft talk.
Okay, so let me mention that part because I know there was somewhere in the chat talking about that guy specifically in Montgomery. So how do you feel about going after? I'll tell you my 2 cents. I'll answer my own question. But how do you feel about going after outfielders and pitchers in the draft when the needs look different? My view on it is I see the draft as play money of sorts. Like those players, what's going to work and what's not going to work is completely different today, tomorrow, and the next day. And a player may not turn into what he will be until it's 3-4 years down the line, which then the Cardinals' needs have changed. I do believe, and Kyle and I have discussed this before, that the changes of the Cardinals organization in general started with the Tavares death, and it changed everything of what they wanted to do and the way they were going with the organization, and then put a tailspin on all of their decision-making going forward, and then sped up timelines like Jordan Walker because Jason Hayward didn't pan out and all that, like just a domino effect of what's going on. So do you put any needs now today in your draft stock, Brandon?
No, honestly, I'm clearly no expert, but if I'm going for the draft, I'm looking 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years down the road. But then if there's just one guy, one player, one position that I've got to go after, I've got to get this guy, then sure, you make the chance and, maybe he turns into a Mike Trout or Paul Skeens, whatever. But, generally I would like to think, assuming 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, I'm looking to develop that position. Chase Davis last year, he's in the minor leagues right now. He's another outfielder that maybe we're talking about here in a few years.
And go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
Right. Just was going to say, the other thing that I would throw out here too is, yes, we need a pitcher. Yes, we need an outfielder. Is that going to be the guy you take at the end of the month? Probably not for some time. I think there's also an argument to be made. You take who you think is the next best available player, period. And you take him. I don't care if he's a third baseman, a first baseman, a shortstop, because I think you could make the argument that the likelihood he's going to be on your big league roster at some point soon is probably higher this year because we've got such a higher pick than we're used to taking. But I think that's trade bait. And then you can use that to go get what you need is another way of looking at things.
Yeah, and I think I feel the same way. Like if the Cardinals scouts, front office, Flores, all the guys are doing what they're supposed to do, then we should be knowing who's going to be the next best guy that they've done their research. No one was looking at Albert Pujols, obviously, in the draft. No one's looking at certain guys of where they're supposed to be, and you saw something in them, so you picked that guy. And I feel like guys are coming up faster than they have previously as well, so that makes that window a little shorter too. Yeah, so that's kind of where I sit with all of it. And I just think Kyle's right. Like you go out and you get who's the best available because you don't know the needs in 3 years from now. Because what's needed today, you should be adjusting for if you're making a push. And so I'll ask you and move to this. Should the Cardinals be buying? John Mozeliak has said again in the last couple of weeks that the Cardinals are buyers. They will not sell. Would it make sense to dump the expiring contract and player of Paul Goldschmidt and go get something because the New York Yankees need a first baseman? Would it make sense to do those things? Ryan Helsley, things like that. Or should the Cardinals buy because this team is a streaky team and then they could just possibly get hot at the right time and make an actual run?
Go ahead, Kyle.
Thanks. I don't know. If I'm honest with you, this team is not winning a World Series.
Would you say the same in 2011?
I mean, I hope I'm eating my words. I would love to say that we're going to win the World Series. Paul Goldschmidt.
No, but hold on. My question is, in 2011, at this point in the season, you would have said the same thing. This team is not winning a World Series.
Yeah, I would say that. I believe it more now than I did then, I would think. I hope I'm wrong. We're going to make the playoffs and all is going to be right with the world and whatever.
But my point is that this team can hit with the rest of the league at any given day, week at a time, because that's who they are. They're streaky and the pitching has proven that they can be pretty good as well in a top three guys, right? When Michaelis is pitching properly, when Sonny Gray is pitching his way, and you had one more piece to that at a top three guy, then you really have a good piece together. I just think, look, people hate it, and maybe this is my positive side to everything, but this team is super streaky, and all you have to do is get hot at the right time, and you make a run like they did in 2006. They did make a run like in 2011, and that's what John Mozeliak is wanting. And I think we would all be pretty happy if that happens.
I would be thrilled if that happens. Here's my thing. If you look at the schedule that we talked about earlier, and the fact that there's a whole lot more parity than there ever was to make teams better than they are with the way the schedule is worked. We're 7 games out of a terrible division at the end of the day. I'll stop negativity and say maybe that means it is time to let Paul Goldschmidt go for something of value.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
If you re-sign him, he's going to be 40 years old. He's going to be nothing at that point, right?
Right. And, like that's what I was going to say, be buyers. The division is in reach. It's not like this is a completely lost season. We are this much better than we were last year at this point. But the division is in reach. Arenado, Goldie, would you want to get rid of them? That's a wishy-washy question. If the deal is right, completely right, and makes sense, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It does sound crazy. I'm not hating. I'm just saying Arenado and Goldie haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing as of June 21st. So if the deal is completely right and completely makes sense, why not? And change it up, whatever. But I would definitely be buyers. This division clearly winnable.
Yeah, and I agree. The buyers part, I would be more apt to be trading Goldschmidt than I would Arenado, even though Arenado is having a much worse season, I would say, like from what you expect of him. But because Paul Goldschmidt's on that expiring contract. So do you plan to sign Paul Goldschmidt? If you're trading him, though, you're also, I think you're signaling that you're not buying at all because you're breaking the team up in theory with his his leadership, if you want to call that, if he has any. But I would say that's more apt than him than Arenado because of the contract situation. But are you planning on signing him? And who's going to play first base? Because if your goal is to get Jordan Walker at first, Nolan Gorman at first, I'm trying to think Alec Burleson at first, other guys more opportunities because of what's changed, then I understand that as well. Because Goldschmidt at this point is not bringing anything. Because I think Arenado and Goldschmidt are both at like a 0.4 WAR this season, and they have historically played at 3+ WAR each season. So they're not bringing you much to the table, but they are better than the replacements that are out there.
And here's possibly a question for you, Ryan, is don't forget about Lukenbaker. He's probably, I don't know, maybe a month away from breaking the Memphis Redbirds minor league home run record from Nick Stavanoa. Guys, remember that name?
Yeah.
But, so this dude's been in the minors forever, and he's raking year in and year out. And, didn't really impress anybody last year. But, he's sitting there just in Memphis. Are we just wasting him away? What do we do with him?
Well, yeah, and Andrew said the same thing as you said it. He said, "I'm ready for Lukenbaker." You mentioned that, but he had an opportunity last year. He did nothing with it. So is he a 4A hitter? Is he a 4A player? Not a AAA guy. So I think you got to decide: does he have value, and you trade him because you're not going to give him an opportunity, or are you going to give him an opportunity? Brandon on YouTube says what I said was stupid to trade Goldschmidt. Now, I am not on that train of trading Goldschmidt, but I'm saying if that's your plan, it depends on what your plan is as the St. Louis Cardinals organization of going forward. If your plan is to 100% not sign Paul Goldschmidt, then I think it would make sense to then trade him and open that spot up going forward for someone else, because Edmonds coming back, Newt's coming back, Wilson Contreras is coming back, and then you have someone that can play that position that is probably going to do better than Paul Goldschmidt is today.
Give a shout out. Boy, Juan Yepes would have been a great backup for Goldie.
Yeah.
He would have, absolutely. And how is he doing now, wherever he is?
He's in Rochester with the Red Wings, the AAA for the Nationals. As of last weekend, he was batting about .250 with a handful of home runs.
I gotta jump back on here to YouTube, Brandon, who said, "I hope they win it all, and you're a goof." I will tell you this: I will 100%. If the Cardinals win the World Series,
where is that one? I got to pull that one up.
It's back there somewhere. I love Brandon's comments. I hope they win and make you look like a goof. I would love if they win and make me look like a goof. I will wear a hat or a shirt that says goof on our Cardinal World Series post-game podcast if they win it all, and wear it with pride that says, I was a goof. We didn't win the World Series. I hope they do. I hope everybody understands that's my point. I hope they do. I want them to. I got to have faith. I want to have faith. I hope they do. But nonetheless,
stop.
Not be so negative, right?
Negative.
I hope they do. I want them to. Right now at 500, 7 games out in a weak division in June. Do I think we're there? No. Can we? Sure. I hope so. I hope I'm wearing a goof shirt in November.
Not only is Brandon that is on screen invited back, but Brandon on YouTube is definitely invited back.
I love it
as well.
Yeah.
Look, I don't necessarily believe that being a realist is negative. Now, I am more apt to be positive than Kyle is traditionally, but I'm also a very realist, and I'm not going to just say that this team is really, really good. I think it has the ability to be good and has the streaky ability to put a bunch of wins together at the right time. And I don't want to rest on that as an option to, like, that is the way that the Cardinals. How many times over the past, 10 years have we said, go get one more? Make one more move, and this team is really, really good. Go make one more change, and this team is really, really good. We are now in the situation where we're back a little bit, where we need to make one more, 2 more, 3 more to be really good. We need to make more and more and more. Like this team, instead of is one trade away from being a contender to one trade away from being possibly to win the division. That's where we have changed as an organization. And that's where kind of my issue with it is we've taken a step back as a whole from an organization. Instead of one change away from a World Series, we're one change away from actually competing to win the division, which that angers me as well. Now, did I yell at the TV when the Marlins did a walk-off on the second night? Yes. Did I scream at the top of my lungs? Because that was the first time in 2024 that I actually yelled at the TV, because losing to the Marlins, the worst team in the National League, really made me angry for the second time in 3 nights.
All right. So I got to get, so I'm going to, this will be my last parting comment of the night. Dogs are going crazy and need entertained and probably need to go out. But Brandon the other Brandon wants to be a guest on the show. There you go. But
I'm telling you, it's actually Brandon.
Yeah.
It's actually him.
Yeah, it probably is.
On this
and then also
young in Scotland.
Right.
That's all.
Also before, it's actually Josh. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that he supports Goldie. He's going on a second half tear. Book it. I firmly believe that. I support Goldie 100%. Goldie is a great teammate. He's been a great player, and he's made this team better since he's been here. I'm not saying that I want to trade Goldie necessarily. I'm more along the lines of what you were saying, Ryan. If the plan is not to re-sign him, then go get something for him while you can get something for him. That was serious. We'll have the dogs back with Brandon and make it more fun. That's my cue to go. You guys have fun wrapping it up, but go Goldie, go Cards, go win it all. Goof shirt, November. Book that.
See you, Kyle. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so I don't have much else unless Brandon, you have anything else you would like to jump in on. Let me kick Kyle out of here so I can get him off the screen, and he's gone. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything else, if more things you want to get into. Look, I can go all night. I don't care. We have 300 people watching on our streams, and then that doesn't include Chris's streams on Cardinals Nation 24/7. In that count, there's probably a few thousand there, so there's probably about 3,000 people watching you right now. If you have anything that you would like to jump into and get off and talk about.
Yeah, and it's been about 9 years since I've been in a broadcast forum, and you told me I got all these people potentially watching me, so kind of crazy. But no, while Kyle's gone, I'll talk behind his back. You know, me and you kind of have the same opinion on the positive and the negatives. And Kyle, I've known Kyle, damn near 20 years, and he's way more negative than I've ever been. But I'm not afraid to yell at the TV. I'm not afraid to get upset over, a bad call, bad play, poor management, whatever. But, I'm not going to just completely crap on the season over a single loss in the month of April, like I see all over social media. But no, I really don't have anything more to add. I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, I've been waiting probably a little over a year for you to invite me, and you finally got bored enough and lost some friends to another country. You had to
I've
invite.
asked you before when we first got going. This thing has been around now, I don't know, 3 years approximately. It's grown along the way, so much so that we have a huge sponsor. We've had sponsors, by the way. We will mention Breaking Tea, one of my faves, breakingtea.com/That's a Winner Pod. This is their newest t-shirt for Mason Wen. You can get that at breakingtea.com/That's a Winner Pod. Anything you go to at That's a Winner Pod with Breaking Tea, it's also in our link tree on all of our social media accounts. We get a portion of those sales. I cashed out for like $60 the other day. That goes towards all of our costs of doing things. Like the software that I'm using costs money. I don't know, the things I spend money on cost money. I don't know if that is as obvious as it takes, but I spend money on things to make this thing go. It pays for those things. The more money we make, the more things I can give away, like
Underwear.
Like tons of underwear. Look, I mean, I'm talking about, I have tons of underwear. I have tons of underwear to give away, and I would like to give it away. So we need to give away some more pairs of that as well. And I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. I'm going to send you some, Brandon, and you're going to realize you didn't need it before. And then you're going to blame me for spending. Your wife's going to say, why are you spending so much money on underwear? And you're like, well, I'm sorry. but I at least have a 20% discount. That's a winner using the discount code at sheath.com. All right. Any more questions? I hit the wrong button. Any more questions from the peanut gallery before we move on and get out of here? Sorry, I have too many screens going at the moment. Questions and answers. Anyone, questions and answers. We'll give you any answer to your questions. Sporting Turbo says, it's Friday night. We should go all night.
Oof.
Replying to Chris Lawless, Andrew said, won some boxers because of you and gifts. Oh, so Andrew found us because of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 group. So we appreciate Andrew and all the other thousands of people that have jumped on that part of it that found our broadcast, whatever you want to call it, podcast, because of Chris. And Chris, if you want a pair of underwear, if you wear one of these sizes that I have, I'll send you some as well, Chris, for your support of the show. We appreciate that. Go ahead.
I've been Chris's a Facebook friend and acquaintance for several years. He's one good dude for sure.
Very good, and he does a great job with Cardinals Nation 24/7. And I've been hounding him for 2 years to let us be a part of it, and he's finally letting us get in a little bit and get a taste of it. I will plug Fair Shake again, WRZR and Lagodi, WAMW in Washington, Indiana. We will be on me. You will hear my voice on those stations at 8:05 Eastern on Saturday morning, 9:05 Eastern on Saturday morning, and 10:05 Eastern on Saturday morning on those different stations in Southern Indiana, talking about Cardinals baseball, and they also talk about Cubs and Reds as well. But last time we talked, it was the Cardinals were going this way and the Cubs were going this way. So, Brandon, before we go, let's talk about Cardinals and Cubs and where they sit now. Are the Cardinals what they are now, or what they were then? Are the Cubs what they are now, looking really bad? Or are they that better team they were in the beginning of the season?
I'll start with the Cubs because I feel like it's an easier answer. I thought the Cubs were overperforming the first 6-8 weeks of the season, honestly. They're about where I expect them to be overall at the end of the season, just shy of 500. Cardinals, God, I hope it's better. But we are a wee bit better than we were last year. At this point, it's just mediocrity. I think we mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. Mediocrity. We're back and forth, back and forth. We'll just beat the crap out of some of these teams, and then we'll lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. Why? I have no idea. And I just don't get it, and then when everybody's clicking, there's that 25th guy or 26th guy that just blows the game. And then the very next day, that guy's got it, but then it's a completely different guy. Or we score 10, 12 runs one game, and then the next game, or the next 3 games, we score 0. It's just inconsistency. I'd like to see more consistency, both offensively and defensively and pitching wise.
Where do you sit with Nolan Gorman? I see so many people talk about inconsistency and talk about we need to trade him, we need to get rid of him, all this. But he's exactly as I expected him to be. And I am a big Nolan Gorman homer. If you don't know that, I am a huge Nolan Gorman homer. I'm going to stand up for that man because he is spectacular human. But, to me, he's exactly as I thought he would be. So whenever he goes off for 6 home runs in 6 games, there he is. And when he goes for a 2 for 22, that's who I expected him to be as well.
Now, I can't believe it took you an hour and a half, but that's the one thing I prepared myself for.
Yes.
Nolan Gorman question, because
I know Norman.
Yeah, I did. 9:30 at night. I'm tired. I'm old. But, Nolan Gorman, a question from you. I know he's near and dear to your heart, so I wanted to make sure I didn't say anything foul about him. But no, I love Nolan. I've met him several times. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about him, honestly, just personality-wise. But, he's never done me wrong. He's always been a nice kid. He hasn't been as nice as he has to me as he has to you, obviously, but is a super nice kid. But he's exactly just like you said. I think he's exactly what I expected. He's betting 202 or whatever. I'd guess 220. and
Right.
then 30 home runs. So, I guess he's a little below average of what I would guess. I would have guessed 220, but
Well,
yeah,
that's what he
right,
was before he went 2 for 22 in the last few games.
right.
But
Striking out way too much, hitting the bombs a couple of times a week. But you did see that stretch in the 10, 14-day stretch where, he was tightening up the strike zone and his swing zone, and, not chasing those balls outside, not the backdoor sliders. He was letting all that go, and you could see it in his average and his power, and that's when he went on his power surge when we were in Houston. But then that quickly disappeared, like I said, after maybe a week and a half. But hopefully, he gets it going average wise. Just it's as simple as keeping your eye on the ball, I guess I should say.
well, whenever he would get ahead in counts, it was over. Like when he got ahead in a count, you knew
Yep.
he was hitting the ball hard somewhere,
Yep.
whether it was a home run or even if it ended up at the warning track. When he got ahead in counts, it was going a long way. And that was the difference between whenever he gets behind in counts and you go, now it's a strikeout. What I was encouraged by last night, if we're again live now talking about last night in the Rickwood game, when he had 2 sack flies, which is only the 43rd time in Cardinals history that a player's had 2 sack flies in a game, that he could have been the opportunity to strike out with a runner at third, and he gets a sack fly, getting in 2 different runs. That to me was encouraging because he could have easily struck out and left those runners sitting there without collecting those runs.
Well, and that one at bat, if I'm not mistaken, it was late, and again, I'm old and tired, but wasn't one of them to dead center and damn near 400 feet? Like that's a heck of a sack fly to me.
Well, yeah, I think people talked about that the airflow in that ballpark, and those are usually home runs in other parks as well. So I think he's getting back off that 2 for 22 streak that he was on and getting closer to where he was. Again, I fully expect Nolan Gorman to be Dan Uggla esque, Kyle Schwarber esque. You're
Adam,
gonna be Adam Dunn esque. Yes, he's gonna hit 30 plus home runs. He's gonna get 80 plus RBI, and he's gonna bat 230 ish, and on a good season, he's going to hit 250, and that's who he is. Whenever I'm on the radio, when you hear my voice on Saturday in Southern Indiana, I talk specifically about this. It's just what he is, a converted third baseman to second baseman, and they're going to find a place for him because his bat. And if you think that Nolan Gorman's going to get traded, you're losing your mind. That Nolan Gorman is not going anywhere because a left-handed bat is what the Cardinals have been wanting for many years, is a left-handed power bat.
yeah, yeah, you're out of your mind if they trade him. I would, and he just turned 24 in the off season, I believe. So this is no time to throw in the towel. This kid is in his second full season. Is that right? Second.
Third, I don't know if you want to, whatever you call that first one. I don't know exactly where he sits, but he's
He's in more year or his junior year. So I mean,
I
give the
think he
kid.
has like 3 or 4 more arbitration years. Like he's going to be around a while, and he's cheap for one, and he's a power bat. And the problem is, look, we're not having any of these conversations, and you're not really talking about him. If Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt are a 3+ WAR on the season because he is an addition to what this offense is supposed to be. So it's kind of like the Harrison Bader. Like whenever he was really good, it was fun and exciting because the team around them were good. If Nolan Gorman has to carry the team is in trouble anyways, because Nolan Gorman can carry a team for a week or two, but he is not a superstar on this team. The superstars have to be superstars for this team to be really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, back to your Bader thing, that's a really good point. It scares me to death, Harrison Bader being the leadoff batter of this team. But would he be a bad 8-9 batter? I'm okay with that, I guess. But
Right. And
leadoff batter, absolutely not.
and that's the big difference. Who's your favorite player on this team now, currently?
Alec Burleson, hands down. Hands
And you
down.
you followed him for a long time, met him many times, right?
I have basically since we drafted him, and he went to Peoria in single A. Super guy. I'm sure you guys have seen interviews and on TV, and everything you see on TV, personality wise, that's the real Alec. Like the dude is super funny. Seriously, he's got something to say. He's very appreciative of his fans, and yeah, I support a guy like that who recognizes me. I'm for sure going to recognize you. That's just how I roll. But, and I love his bat. And I said at day one of spring training that if this kid is given an opportunity, you better watch out. But I honestly don't think he's going to be given an opportunity. I was being a realist. And praise baby Jesus that there were some injuries, here and there. He was given an opportunity and he has excelled for the most part, batting 270 ish, with a little bit of pop. And everybody makes fun of his defense. I don't think his defense is terrible, but maybe I'm being biased.
I
Agree,
think
disagree?
he has a great arm. I think that's his obvious plus side in the outfield is his arm. Even whenever he doesn't make the throw, like last night again in Rickwood Field, that ball was right on exactly where you wanted to going into second base. It was a perfect throw. And then you talk about he didn't make the throw because he bobbled the ball in Miami. Give and take. But I have no problems with it. He has definitely been one of the two top guys to exceed my expectations for this season, Alec Burleson and Mason Wynn. Mason Wynn is just ahead of schedule. I expected Mason Wynn to be very, very good, elite defensively, but he's hitting better than I expected him to. So those two guys have been my biggest surprises of the season, most definitely. And I love to see, Alec Burleson's number 2 in home runs on this team. And Nolan Gorman, as we talked about, is number 1. So that just tells you not only where this team is when Alec Burleson's number 2, but also that shows what he's doing on this team as well. So this team there has to be more guys involved. The young guys aren't supposed to be the one leading this team yet. These guys are 24 and under. This is not supposed to be leading this team right now. The old guys, the superstars, haven't been super, and that's been the biggest problem.
Yeah, and I agree with your Mason Wynn comment too. I think he's exceeded my expectations offensively. I thought he could do this offensively, but not this early in the season. I thought maybe it'd take him all year, and maybe into spring training or late into this season, whatever, to get those kind of numbers. But defensively, he's right on course. He was a pitcher as well in the minors, in Peoria and Springfield, maybe Memphis, but he pitched as well. He flirted on the mound, threw 100 miles an hour, so why not? And then he decided to be a full-time shortstop. But yeah, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, I completely agree, are my two big surprises on the team. Arenado and Goldie, if those guys do half of what they should be doing in the second half of the season, then we should be in pretty good shape.
And I feel like we talked about that all last season. We're just waiting to turn that corner. Just turn it on. Waiting for this team to catch. Just waiting and waiting and waiting, and it never happened. And I feel like we're in the same mode, but not just as a team. We're just waiting on those two guys to change exactly what could happen for the future of this team.
Yeah, and then you gotta talk about the injuries again. Newbar and Contreras and Edmund. Edmund, I just don't know about, man. Honestly, Edmund wrist injury is pretty serious. That wrist has got to do a lot of things during the game, and those are hard injuries to overcome. So I'm not buying that yet. Contreras, like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm excited for him to come back. Boy, it's early. That kind of scares me, but I just, as long as he's 100%, I hope he's good to go. And I'm a huge fan of Contreras as well. Super dude. And Newt Bar, he's just got to stay healthy. Honestly, he's, like I said, he's back and forth. Just need to stay healthy. Keep the sides and the backs and the hammies nice and safe, and he should be okay as well. With those guys coming back, I don't know if we hit on that. With these guys coming back, who do you send down?
Well, I think Siani is going to be obvious one that goes down with that. Paez is obviously going to be going down, I think, with that one, with Wilson Contreras. And then the next spot, a Newt Bar returns. I don't know. I'm trying to think of where the next one. I don't know. What's your third one? Because I think you probably
Well,
agree with Siani probably too, but
I tell you what, that Fermin was the one, I believe, who was called up
yeah,
when Newt hurt.
yeah.
It wasn't a fielder. They just threw Fermin in there. So my bet would be Fermin.
But do we see Jordan Walker again this year too?
I
He had a home
I,
run last night, at least.
I know. And is that number 2 in Memphis or number 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3. I think 3,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, there's that poor kid too. St. Louis has ruined him. I'm just going to be blunt and honest. St. Louis has ruined him. Why would you send a kid down in, what was it, middle of May-ish, end of May-ish, batting 270? Why would you send him down? Brand new kid in the big leagues. He's not doing anything wrong batting 270. Clearly, batting 270. And you're going to send him down. Messed his mind all the way up. And then now he can't do anything, and that's sad and unfortunate. And then we're hoping for a bounce back season in spring training. He wasn't super impressive like he was last year. And then, he just couldn't get it going from opening day on. We decided to send him down, and he can't do anything in Memphis either all of a sudden. We're worried about trajectory and exit velocity. This kid got brought up to the major leagues at a very early age for a reason. The kid can play. The kid can hit. Let him be until all hell breaks loose, and then let's have a conversation. But whatever he's doing currently is apparently working, so I would leave him alone. Again, not a professional, but I'd leave him alone until all hell broke loose, and then I'd have a pep talk on, hey, here's some suggestions on how we need to change some things to keep you successful in the big leagues.
And Mo has admitted that he believes they brought him up too soon, and they didn't set him up for success. And so they don't even have a timetable for him to return. They're not looking for anything specific, because I thought he would return recently until that conversation we had with Mo about what they want to see from him. And they're pretty much were saying, we just want to see more consistency at that level so he can come out back to this level. So even if he goes and rattles off some, I don't think you're going to see him right away. Because if you bring back Newt, obviously comes back, Edmund comes back, Wilson Contreras comes back, and then Jordan Walker, this is a completely different team that you need to make some room for.
Well, again, I need to see some consistency down there in Memphis for sure. Maybe I'll see some consistency with my own eyes. I'll be in Memphis here in a few weeks, and I'll give you an update on how he looks in person. But you send him up, then who do you send down? Alec Burleson? I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. That's going to make this Brandon mad, let alone the other Brandon. But seriously though, you need to see consistency, and we haven't seen that yet. I don't know how long he's been down in Memphis now, but we haven't seen consistency hitting wise whatsoever for power or for average.
Yes. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining the show tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Brandon on YouTube. Find me on Twitter, and I'll send you a pair of underwear. Andrew, you're supposed to send me a message best on Twitter. That's a Winner Podcast, or That's a Winner Pod, one of the two. Find me on there. Chris, you can find me there so I can send you a pair of underwear as well. Brandon, send me a message for your address, and I'll send you a pair as well. So that'll be like 5, 6 this week. We're sending out for Sheath. Sheath.com, underwear of legends, 20% discount code. That's a winner. And also your breakingtea.com/that's a winner pod. We have our own t-shirt there as well that you can purchase. I think I have that available too. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, I just got rid of it quickly. There it is. That's a Winner Podcast t-shirt. You can also get that at you can also get that at breakingtea.com/that's a winner pod. Part of any of your purchases goes towards any of the money for us. We appreciate everyone listening in, watching. If you did live, for the few thousand that have joined us tonight. And we also appreciate the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that will listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the places that you can find your podcast. We appreciate it. For tonight, that was Kyle Peach that joined us earlier. That's Brandon Elliott. I'm Ryan Jenkins. And this has been That's a Winner Podcast. See ya.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's a winner. That's a winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.